Welcome back from that short break and welcome to our view. You're still watching Sunrise at Sea right here on CTV. My name is Apollo Sarah and I am joined by my usual suspects, as they call themselves sometimes. Agi Uwase on my far right. You know, I always do this like when I'm checking my left, right hands. Do you do the same? Yes. It's ridiculous. Some people are like, what are you doing? But it helps.
Yeah.
And then and then next to her, right next to me rather, on my right is Brian Karachi. How are you, Brian? And welcome back to the show. Brian is no stranger to the show. He's a family member on the show and he shows up, once in a while to antagonize us. Well, today we are going to be talking about something actually very, very sensitive. On 3rd May, earlier this week, a very tragic and awful accident happened along Fort Porto, Cabarole, and about 20 people lost their lives. Now, the thing is, what triggered this conversation today is the habit of people sharing some of these really awful tragic pictures of the deceased, the victims, that all that traumatizing content. And it's not even just that. Also, about a year ago, during the riots, during the elections, all that tragedy or misfortune that we got to see that happen downtown during the strikes, and we were seeing all those pictures of the wounded people, and also with the bomb blasts. So today we want to have the conversation. How would you deal with people who share some of this very this kind of content that some people would think is would feel that is very it's very, very sensitive. And some people would argue and say that it's their right to know, because, I mean, they have the freedom of expression and freedom to accessing information, and that is actually stipulated very clearly in the Ugandan constitution. Whereas some people would say that you should not do it. So I would like to know your thoughts. I would like to know you guys' thoughts. How do you handle a situation where you're in a WhatsApp group or you're on social media and then you are bombarded with such kind of content?
First of all, this is a very sensitive, it's very sensitive for me. I mean, on that day, I think it was later on in the evening, I was going through social media, in particular Twitter, and then I was seeing all these videos and pictures, and it was very traumatizing for me. I was actually in a good mood, and all of a sudden my mood changed. And I think that could happen to many other people. And it's very insensitive on the side or on the part of people who want to put the pictures out there, to put the videos out there, because what is the essence? But I also think that right now we are living in a, should I call it lawless? Actually, yes, lawless, because at the end of the day, everyone wants to break the story. Everyone wants to be the first person, who puts the story or the information out there. And they forget the fact that this is actually very disrespectful to the deceased family, disrespectful to even the deceased as well. I mean, in our African society or setting, we talk about the dead need to be respected. So taking these pictures and videos and putting them out there is very insensitive. And for me, if it's on a WhatsApp group or if it's somebody that I know that posts that kind of content, I will definitely call you out. I will tell you what you are doing is bad, pull it down or put it down, because that is what it should be. But then again, I think maybe there should be laws, regulations, restrictions that should be put in place in regard to this particular matter, so that people can do better. And not just be putting all that sensitive content out there. It's very, very disrespectful and traumatizing. That is the word.
It is traumatizing, indeed, for people to see such. I saw them, my God.
Yeah.
It was traumatizing. I could not share them myself because many people had already shared them. To see blood and all that. And it's not just, the graphical stuff is not just that, the accident and or the murders and terrible pictures of blood and all, even porn and all that.
Yes.
You cannot just share it on social media. But we live in a world that is more visual than just words. Back then, in the old times when the internet wasn't there, some things could get away with. Some situations could get away with some terrible things. For instance, situations where violence was committed by, let's say, police, by the army in the days of Idi Amin and all that. They could get away with a lot. But we live in a world where information travels very fast. And information to be well received is not just about the words that this and this happened. Some things need to be seen to create awareness, evidence.
Yes.
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah, we need to see those things, but it depends on the message behind, the intention behind. If it is malicious, if you're sharing information to malice someone, well, the intention is bad. But sometimes we need to see those pictures to know what is really happening. If pictures of what happened in the recent general elections, 2021, if they had not been shared, maybe some people would not receive really the content of what really happened.
Yes.
They would not know what abuses happened, what violence transpired, if they weren't shared.
Yes.
For me to just tell you that some people were killed,
Yes.
it might not be enough in such a generation. You will obviously ask for evidence.
Yes. I wanted to say something about what Aggie said, that there should be rules and regulations to, you know, counter certain content. And we do have the Computer Misuse Act, actually, and it provides for the safety and security of electronic transactions and information systems. It also goes on to prevent unlawful access, abuse, or misuse of information systems, including computers, and provides for securing the conduct of electronic transactions in a trustworthy electronic environment. Well, the Act began as a computer misuse bill that was number 23, introduced by the Uganda Law Reform Commission in 2008 to enable the utilization of the opportunities emanating from the rise in the use of information and communication technologies in Uganda. And it also creates a conducive environment that was free of abuse and misuse. This year we celebrated World Press Freedom Day on Tuesday, right? Yes, we did. Yes, on Tuesday, 2nd May. And this year's theme is digital journalism under siege. Do you think digital journalism is under siege? Because if Aggie here is against people having to share such graphic, you know, pictures, and then you on the other hand feel like it is necessary for it to be shared so that people can actually know the degree of calamity or devastation that if the event is, don't you think that we are now starting to restrict our modes of communication, or rather doing our jobs, because we're all journalists right here? Do you think it's under siege?
I believe it is under siege. Because take a look at the platforms we have, Facebook, Twitter. They don't have any specific laws. Actually, they went ahead to confirm themselves that we are just a platform, not a publisher. They don't publish information.
Yes.
They're just a platform for publishers of information.
Yes.
So anyone that is on has a right to publish whatever they want, even though they have some guidelines on for certain information and usually impose strikes on if those guidelines are broken.
Yes.
But if someone in a certain country or some leader in power comes up to limit what you're posting on social media,
yes,
that it says that, Sarah, you cannot post this and this, yet they're not the owners of that platform. I think they're trying to impose some kind of dictatorial management of information,
yes,
to limit some, I don't want to go so to cross the line
to be on the same
no,
side.
but I think it's important for you to have to say it, because you see, communication, or rather media, is actually a very powerful and instrumental mode of information. When you misuse your outlet as a media house, or if you give media outlets so much freedom, then you are probably going to, you know, cause a lot of havoc in society.
But
I mean, look at what happened with the Rwanda genocide.
But it is those
The propaganda was first, you know, spread out through media, right?
But
So don't you think it is still very necessary to hold those social media pages accountable for it?
there are standards that have to be maintained.
Yes.
And what happened in genocide was not just about media itself. It was, again,
But
the
it
leadership.
was a tool that was used.
But people needed
By-
to know at the end
by
of
the
the
leaders.
day. People needed to know.
Because
That's the thing.
as managers of information, as people that give out information. We
Yes.
have to be independent. And people that were giving it out in the genocide weren't independent as well. They were influenced by
Yes.
the government. So if government comes up to have control of what is put out there, it will definitely want to have information in its favor put
Yes.
out,
Yes.
and some information left out,
Yes.
which information is very crucial for people to know. Yeah.
I think weighing in on this particular matter, for me, I don't like the fact that, especially like, let me not be very partisan. The government and authorities are trying, or they're trying to implement rules or regulations so that they restrict what you post on social media, especially if that's not in their favor, because that is what we are seeing that is happening. I mean, the other day, some people were taken into custody because of what content they posted on social media, attacking certain individuals. And for me, I think they're just doing it because they do not want the public to know their wrongdoings, the public, to be, because at the end of the day, social media is very instrumental, and it can cause an uproar, not just the rants on social media, but it can escalate into a revolution or something like that. So I think that is what they're trying to curb. But if we talk about because at the end of the day, if we are to look at newspapers, when you look at media houses, TV, even here as well, if it's sensitive content, there's always, they blur it.
Yeah.
So you don't get to see that content. So in that regard, I think it's okay, because the media is actually doing the right thing. The only problem, if we talk about the media being under siege, it's because of those dictatorial tendencies that are they're trying to be implemented or put into place so that they work in their favor.
But
Yeah.
is
I don't
it
want to
really
mention
just
names,
dictatorial? But it could also, like, some things you don't need to see.
Like
right?
what's that?
You don't need to see somebody being amputated or decapitated, or like the worst type of things that could happen in the world. Why would you want to see that? It causes trauma.
George Floyd.
Yes.
You remember? I think that video being put out there, yes, it was very sensitive, it was traumatizing to watch, but the
it
fact that it
created
was out there,
awareness.
it created awareness and even justice for George Floyd's family and himself as well. Trust me, if that video was not out there, probably the police or the US Police Department would have denied it until the end, and maybe wouldn't have seen justice
that
being
is true.
served. So in some instances, it's actually it's important for evidence and for following up and for justice to be served.
And there are lots of black lives that have been lost, and police got away with it because
there was no
no
evidence.
evidence, or people just didn't get to know about it. Even if the evidence was there that they were killed by police, but because it didn't go viral for people to
Yes.
stand up against it.
All right.
The policemen got away with it. Yeah.
So you guys are definitely for sharing this sensitive information. You
No.
see, for me,
It depends on what information.
The intention
though.
behind it.
okay. For me, my closing remarks as we wind up this segment is that I do understand that having to let people actually see, like, you see the truth. This is what happens when you drive carelessly. This is what happens when you drink and drive. This is what happens when you share, fake news or whatever the case may be. I think it helps that it sees to a greater extent, but then again, I'm also for the lesser extent of the trauma it's going to cause on the people involved in that situation. For instance, if you are a family member and you get to see that your loved one was in a car crash and their pictures are being circulated all over the internet, and it's pictures of them in the worst and most horrific state that they could ever be, like, wouldn't that leave a lasting mental, issue imprint in your head? So for me, I'm torn between this. I think, like, let's us just share, carefully. And sometimes just don't see. Sometimes you don't need to see. Read the story, but don't see. Take caution. You don't have to see everything, okay? Or well, that's all we had for you on this segment of Our Views, but I'd definitely love to hear from you. Connect with us across all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I'd like to know what you think. Is it necessary for people to have to share graphic and sensitive information? Let me know. But Sunrise at Sea continues. Don't blink.
Well, just like they say, every good thing must come to an end. We finally come to the end of Sunrise at Sea this morning. And being a Friday, I'd like to let you know that be out there, but be safe and enjoy responsibly as you head into the weekend. Well, from me, the lady, the gentleman, and the entire team, we wish you a great weekend. Have a fantastic one. See you on Monday, same time, same place. Keep watching CTV.